Hey folks, I'm Sean C. Davis, and it is time for another Project Strawberry update. We are on update number 2. I showed that first early MVP to my daughter, and then I went back in and I made some changes, and she was kind of playing along with me while I was making the changes. And she had also given me that first set of drawings that we talked about last week. And so I want to kind of talk about everything that happened. We were kind of in a goofy state because I had made some changes. I showed them to her, and then I got some real-time feedback. I made some changes on the fly, and then kind of got to a point where I gave her more to do, and I made a long list of the things that I need to do. And so I want to talk to you about a few of the different things that we worked on this week, show you some updates, and there's a long way to go and a lot of things that I want to do over the next week before we get to update number 3. But let's dig in. All right, so this is small on my screen. I can zoom in and we can see it much bigger, but it also then kind of gets a little bit washed out. So I'm gonna go back to my normal size here, and hopefully that translates okay. So the first thing we have is we're not any longer only storing data locally. I do think there's a lot that's happening under the hood that is local to me, and I need to push more of that up into the database. But now we do have a database. In fact, we can take a look here and see I've got multiple game saves, and we have some state data here. We're going to need a lot more to actually be able to share this from machine to machine. But for now, we have something, we have a database, we have it also deployed to Netlify. And so we're running this entire thing on Netlify, which I think is very cool. So it's a big update. It's a big shift. We can now follow these git-based workflows. And that's really great because then we can package up changes all in one pull request. We can add a new version. And so we've got kind of this regimented way of working now, which is it's very comfortable for me. So I have a saved game here, and I'm going to go ahead and play this game. So a few things have happened, and I want to point you to those things. So we have more tiles. Now, one of the first things that I had wanted to do with this second version update is I wanted to never be able to see the edge of the world. So we know there is an edge of the world. We just don't want to be able to get there, and we don't really want to be able to see it. And so most of the rules are still the same. We didn't add any new tile types. I'm going to talk to you about these rocks in a minute, but one of the coolest things we did, I think, is we added this context menu and we added some action. So there is a new tile type because there are bridges now. And so what you can do is you can move around, and if you have the axe in your hand, you can now maybe, I need to push toward the tree. 1, 2, 3, and we've chopped down the tree. We've got some lumber. We pick up that lumber and we keep doing this. You can see up here 5 lumber now. Looks like Elliot played on this account and she's got 30 berries. So we gather some lumber, and then presumably there's some water somewhere. I'm gonna walk forever. Here we go. All right, let's cut down this tree. This is a game about destroying the environment. All right, so I have 8 lumbers. Actually, I need 1 more. I think I need 3 to cross the river. Okay, so then I can come up here and I can choose my bridge tool, and then I can build a bridge. And yes, it costs 3, okay? So I build a bridge, and now I can get over this river. So this was really cool. She had a lot of fun playing with this. And I think the thing that was so cool to me is after a few minutes of playing, she said, "Dad, this is so fun." And I was like, that's amazing, because it really, really sucks. But it's also really cool. I mean, I think this would have taken me so many hours to produce if I was writing all the code and drawing these things by hand. But this is amazing. It is really, really cool to see this thing come to life. So what you notice here is these shapes, these rocks, look a little bit different than... We had another rock. Here's another rock over here. Looks a little bit different. So you can see there's pretty consistent style throughout and that these don't really fit. Those are my scans in, and that's another big update that I have here. And so so she had drawn these things for me, and since then we've got a lot more drawings and been playing around with them. But basically what I did, I love this, by the way. This is going to eventually be our person, these raccoon eyes. It's amazing. So I don't think I have the original ones anymore. She just drew these things with pen on a blank piece of white paper. And then I bring them into here. And if you have an image, you can come down to your tool menu, and this should be bigger, right? I don't know if I can make it. No, I can't make it bigger on Figma. And there's a tool here called, yep, it's not going to highlight because I don't have an image selected, but there's a tool called vectorize. And it will take an image and it will vectorize it. And it does it in a little bit of a goofy way, but it's still a shape that you can play with. And so we can come in here and I can say, like, what do we have? Okay, so that's actually 3 different shapes. So what do we have? Oh, so there's this thing, right? So why don't we, here, let's move, we'll copy it out. All right, just so we can see this. Great. All right, so there's this background piece here. Yeah, so here's what I've noticed. It draws outlines. It doesn't tend to draw, or it draws bigger shapes, full shapes with fills rather than drawing lines and having them fill and having spaces in between it. I think it's probably just a simpler thing to do. So what looked like the outside line here is just a big shape. And that's the issue I ran into. And we see there's the kind of like an erroneous one there. So it looks like this is the outline. Now, we could totally play with this, right? Like, let's say we needed this to be 2 different shapes. I'm not a Figma expert. One of my favorite things here is to take a screenshot or something, put it into Claude and be like, now teach me what I need to do in Figma. And it works great. So, I mean, one thing you could do is, oh, this one is an outline. That's interesting. And that is not part of it. So we can take those and you could, in theory, I guess you could merge them together. There. Now they're merged together. So there's a union there. And so, yeah, here's your fill. It's a little bit different. But in a lot of cases where you had the outline as well, you could just build a subtraction and then you could put it in. But like, and then you have this particular shape, but now with this shape, we don't actually have something to fill it in. So we need this. The problem is that, we might want this top part to be pink and this bottom part to be green. So we'll have to just do some clever, cutting these things up and all of that. And that's the thing that I'm going to end up having to look for help. But then I can create that style, and I've got these down here. And so you can see this is what made it into the game. And they ended up being I was working with Claude to tell me, okay, what size should they be? And it told me what size to do. And I tried to kind of make it that way, but we noticed that then it turns out that the strokes are just they're too small in the game. And I'm thinking it's probably because they remain strokes and we want to actually outline them so that the proportion remains the same regardless of how big they display on the screen. So got some playing with that to do, but overall, it's a big improvement. And so we're talking about new rules. We're talking about one of the biggest things that I'm looking toward, which I don't think will make it in number 3. It might end up being number 4 or 5, but what she keeps asking me is, when can I build? And I'm like, well, but we're making the game building. And we had to kind of talk through it and figure out that we were talking about 2 different things. There's the playing mode, and you build when you're in playing mode, but there's the actual design mode too. And so that's something that we'll look to implement. But there's a lot of little fine tuning that we can do before we even get to that point where we're building things out. So I'm really excited. I'm digging in over the next couple of days to make some updates here. But that's your second update. version 0.2 of Project Strawberry. This is coming along great. I'm having so much fun. I wasn't sure if this would stick or not. This is 100% sticking around. I'm Sean C. Davis. See you for the next one.